Jasmine Crockett told security to remove Greg Abbott. And what followed stunned everyone at the K. Bailey Hutcherson Convention Center in Dallas, Texas. The venue was packed, the crowd electric, as Representative Crockett delivered a fiery speech on judicial reform, declaring that the justice system must serve every Texan with no exceptions, drawing thunderous applause while cameras from CNN and Fox News captured every word. Suddenly, Governor Greg Abbott appeared from the back, rolling down the aisle in his wheelchair with calm confidence, instantly shifting the room's energy as murmurs spread and tension rose. Crockett paused mid-sentence, fixed her gaze on him, and firmly stated that it was not his stage, prompting mixed reactions from the audience, with some calling for his removal and others urging him to speak. Abbott, unfazed, raised his hand and calmly said he wasn't there to steal the spotlight, but questioned whether he deserved a say if justice was being discussed, igniting both boos and applause as phones shot into the air. Crockett stood her ground, responding that the forum was for solutions, not interruptions, and reminded him he was not on the program. A statement that drew strong support from her base as the room remained sharply divided, as curiosity and tension hung thick in the air. Two security guards in black suits moved swiftly toward Abbott. Their steps were deliberate, faces unreadable under the glare of the stage lights, as the crowd buzzed louder with a mix of cheers and jeers while reporters scribbled furiously, sensing a headline in the making. A PBS camera zoomed in on Abbott, his face composed and his eyes scanning the room with a quiet intensity that suggested he had faced tighter spots before, as he raised both hands slightly, not in surrender, but as if asking the room to pause and listen. He said he wasn't there to cause a ruckus and just wanted 1 minute to talk about what justice meant to him, his voice carrying a familiar Texas warmth that charmed some and irritated others, prompting laughter, hissing, and calls from the crowd both to let him speak and to stick to the program. Crockett, gripping the podium, weighed her options. Accustomed to handling disruptions, but aware that Abbott's steady reputation gave his presence added weight, and she firmly stated that it wasn't a free-for-all, and that he should sign up like everyone else, drawing scattered cheers as the noise swelled and reporters typed frantically, knowing the moment was about to explode across news feeds. Abbott didn't budge, maintaining a gentle smile as he calmly said he wasn't there to play games and only wanted 60 seconds to share what he'd learned about bringing people together, while chants and applause split the room, as pressure mounted and voices urged her both to hear him out and hold her ground. Crockett took a deep breath, recognizing the risk of appearing closed to dialogue, and after a brief pause, reluctantly agreed to give him 1 minute, stressing substance over show as she signaled security to step back. The crowd gradually falling silent with every eye locked on Abbott. He nodded appreciatively, his smile genuine as the stage lights inadvertently highlighted him as if the universe had conspired to give him this platform, thanking the representative with a sincerity that resonated through the hall and promising to make every second count. The air hung heavy with expectation as the crowd, from fervent supporters in the front to curious onlookers in the back, sensed that this 1 minute could redefine the entire event and spark conversations far beyond Dallas. The atmosphere felt charged, like the calm before a Texas thunderstorm, whispers and shuffles punctuating the quiet. While Crockett stepped back slightly, arms crossed, her expression a mix of resolve and weariness, having given ground but ready to reclaim the narrative if Abbott faltered. Guards lingered nearby like shadows as reporters continued frantic note-taking, one from CNN scribbling that Abbott's poise was already stealing the show. Positioned in the aisle, Abbott cleared his throat unhurriedly, eyes sweeping the room with a magnetic pull as he prepared to deliver words meant to unite rather than divide. The moment pregnant with possibility as everyone waited with bated breath, knowing his words could diffuse the tension or ignite it further. The buildup had been intense from the moment Abbott rolled into view, shifting the dynamics as Crockett's commanding presence met his unflappable calm, captivating the room in a way the planned speech alone might not have achieved. The lights seemed brighter, the air warmer with bodies and emotions. The hum of air conditioning unable to cool the rising fervor as Crockett supporters murmured solidarity and those intrigued by Abbott exchanged nods. The divide clear but not yet insurmountable. Security hovered as a reminder of escalation. Yet Abbott's disarming smile kept things from boiling over, anticipation becoming almost tangible as the seconds ticked toward his minute, binding the crowd together despite differences. This was not just an interruption, but a pivot point, a chance for dialogue in a space designed for monologue, made vivid by the reflection of stage lights off Crockett's jewelry, the creak of seats, flashing phone screens mid-recording, and Abbott's grateful tone when he thanked her again, softening the edges of confrontation and hinting at respect beneath the disagreement. The crowd's diversity added layers to the moment, with families teaching kids about civics, elders carrying decades of voting experience, and young professionals snapping photos, all witnessing a live lesson in how unpredictable politics can be. Crockett used the pause to regroup, already planning how to steer back to her reform message, while Abbott carefully prepared his words, aware of their potential reach beyond the room if clips went viral. The guards stood still, exchanging glances as the crowd's implicit approval shifted the mood, and reporters imagined headlines about unity and debate. The energy drew in even the apathetic, revealing how unplanned moments can define public discourse, as Crockett's assertiveness and Abbott's persistence reflected contrasting leadership styles, her instinct for order meeting the audience's hunger for inclusivity and democratic exchange. Whispers rippled through the hall, some admiring Abbott's boldness, others defending Crockett's right to control her event, the balance teetering between protocol and open dialogue. As the room fully quieted, the stage was set for Abbott's minute, a brief window with the potential to echo long after, transforming the gathering into something memorable. The air hung thick with expectation as Abbott, steady in the aisle, began his one-minute speech, his warm, authentic voice rolling through the hall with deliberate calm, thanking Representative Crockett sincerely and clarifying he wasn't there to argue or overshadow her work, but to share what he'd learned in Texas, where people from all walks of life come together to talk things through. As the once tense crowd settled into attentive silence, phones held steady while he leaned forward slightly, scanning faces and connecting with individuals, including a young man in a baseball cap who nodded subtly. An older woman in the third row clutched her purse with a thoughtful expression as if he were speaking directly to her, while Abbott spoke of growing up in the state and how justice was not only about laws and courts, but about people listening to each other, even when opinions clashed like a summer thunderstorm, his voice rising slightly to emphasize shared history and common ground, drawing scattered chuckles at imagery only a true Texan could deliver, easing the divide and pulling the crowd closer. He wove in relatable anecdotes about traveling from the Panhandle to the Gulf Coast, meeting farmers, teachers, and families striving to get by, delivering his words smoothly like campfire storytelling and stressing they did not want endless fights but to be heard, respected, and included, prompting nods, growing applause, and a man in a denim shirt standing to affirm him as the energy shifted from confrontation to contemplation. Crockett, arms crossed at the podium, watched intently, her composed expression flickering with recognition as Abbott's down-to-earth approach turned the tide, the crowd's engagement making it clear his words were landing with impact. As his minute ticked on, he spoke of true justice coming from bridging divides, listening, and finding common paths as Texans had for generations, earning sincere applause from unexpected corners, including students who had come for Crockett but now whispered their agreement, The atmosphere cooled and refreshed as Abbott concluded by asking how justice could be built without giving one another even a minute to listen, raising his hand before finishing with a warm smile, prompting applause to erupt and spread as a haired man stood clapping, and a young woman admitted she hadn't expected it, but saw his point about listening. Phones captured the ovation as the room's energy shifted from divided tension to a unified buzz of reflection, with even some of Crockett's supporters pausing to consider Abbott's call for dialogue. Sensing the momentum slipping, Crockett stepped to the mic, thanked the governor for his input, and emphasized that the forum was about concrete reforms rather than stories, drawing nods and applause from her core supporters. Though the response was more muted as the crowd lingered on Abbott's message of unity, she leaned into the podium with renewed determination, speaking passionately about real issues and inequities affecting marginalized communities. Yet the shift Abbott sparked was undeniable as whispers of agreement spread and reporters typed furiously while cameras captured the contrast between Crockett's resolve and Abbott's calm presence. Security relaxed, the threat of removal forgotten. And Abbott did not seek more time, simply nodding with quiet satisfaction as the crowd's buzz blended support for Crockett with admiration for Abbott's eloquence. As Crockett pressed on with specific reform proposals, Abbott's influence lingered, reflected in exchanged glances, renewed applause from individuals praising dialogue, and young professionals sharing clips, while Crockett amplified her message without losing control. The applause now more segmented and thoughtful. Abbott remained in the aisle, not chasing the spotlight, his presence reinforcing his point as the lights illuminated a diverse crowd processing the exchange, some supporters quietly acknowledging the value of unity, while reporters noted how his brief speech had humanized the debate. Adapting quickly, Crockett wove a response that acknowledged the need for dialogue while stressing urgency, her voice rising to meet the room's evolving energy. The evolving vibe in the hall was like a Texas sunset, colors blending where once there were stark lines, as Abbott's words echoed in minds even while Crockett reclaimed the mic and delved into policy details, outlining steps for equitable justice with evident passion that drew strong support from pockets of the audience. Though the overall tone had softened, becoming less adversarial and more contemplative thanks to Abbott's intervention, he did not interrupt again, respecting the agreement. Yet his poise spoke volumes, inspiring occasional stand-up ovations from admirers who appreciated his call for mutual respect, while some attendees in cowboy hats softly chanted support for him, and Crockett's backers countered with claps for her steadfastness. The media frenzy intensified as cameras captured emotional reactions, a tear in an elder's eye, a thoughtful nod from a teen showing how 1 minute could alter perceptions. Crockett pushed forward with her agenda. But the seed of unity Abbott planted sparked conversations buzzing through the rows about blending listening with action, his Texas-rooted approach of community and resilience shifting the air and making the forum feel more inclusive. As the speech unfolded, engagement deepened, Abbott's message acting as a catalyst for reflection on how dialogue could enhance reform, and Crockett skillfully incorporated subtle nods to unity while emphasizing urgency for change, her delivery sharp but attuned to the room's new dynamic. Abbott watched quietly, his role complete, though its ripples continued as phones buzzed with shared videos and whispers of how powerful the moment was. Security fading into the background as reporters imagined headlines and the diverse audience found common ground, the once tense atmosphere now humming with possibility. The K. Bailey Hutcherson Convention Center remained alive with energy as Abbott's 1-minute speech settled into collective memory, shifting a tense standoff into reflection, while Crockett, back at the podium, pressed on with unwavering focus, detailing systemic flaws and actionable solutions as she worked to reclaim the spotlight. But the undercurrent of Abbott's message lingered, spilling beyond the hall and onto smartphone screens as a social media storm brewed. Reporters typing furiously in dim corners, sensing the moment was bigger than the event itself. One destined to dominate news feeds and conversations across the state and beyond. As murmurs grew and phones lit up with notifications, the clash between Crockett's resolve and Abbott's unifying appeal went viral, proving how a single, sincere moment could ignite a national dialogue. In the immediate aftermath, the audience remained split yet captivated, with some young attendees who had come for Crockett whispering surprise at Abbott's words, a middle-aged man nodding to his wife about the need for more listening, while Crockett's supporters near the stage clapped loudly and reaffirmed their loyalty, even as a few glanced back at Abbott's calm presence in the aisle. Security guards stood idle, their earlier urgency forgotten, as CNN, Fox News, and PBS cameras captured faces marked by agreement and skepticism alike. One reporter noting the moment was already going viral. Within minutes, a 60-second clip of Abbott's speech posted online surged with views and comments, praising his composure and unity message, even from critics of his policies. As hashtags trended and users shared edits, takes, and praise for turning tension into dialogue, news outlets quickly followed, with Fox News highlighting his unity plea, CNN acknowledging his emotional resonance alongside Crockett's reform focus, and PBS calling it a rare instance of political theater becoming genuine dialogue. While back in the hall, attendees live tweeted and shared videos. A local reporter noting Abbott had transformed the forum into a lesson in civility with the potential to dominate the news. Meanwhile, Crockett, undeterred by the shifting tide, doubled down on her reform message, leaning into the microphone as her voice rose with passion while she recounted stories of communities overlooked by the justice system, declaring that it was not about feel-good moments, but about fixing a system that failed the voiceless every day, drawing strong applause from her steadfast base in the front rows. The broader crowd, however, responded more reservedly, reflecting after Abbott's brief interlude, with older attendees whispering that, while Crockett was right, Abbott had made it feel like everyone was in it together. Abbott, still in the aisle, did not interrupt again, his role complete but his impact undeniable, nodding warmly to audience members like any other Texan as the contrast between Crockett's fiery advocacy and his calm appeal kept the audience engaged, phones buzzing with debate. Backstage, Crockett's team monitored the growing social media storm, but she refused to chase online attention, focusing instead on reform and community outreach. While Abbott's remarks went viral and drew praise for winning the room without confrontation, public opinion split between those drawn to Abbott's approachable tone and those loyal to Crockett's agenda. Yet Crockett remained steadfast, preparing for community meetings and stating she was there for the people. As Abbott continued grassroots stops and interviews emphasizing unity. As analysts summarized the moment, Crockett remained the reform warrior, while Abbott won hearts, and the K. Bailey Hutcherson Convention Center continued humming with the aftershocks of his unexpected appearance as Crockett wrapped up her speech with unwavering resolve. Even as the narrative had clearly shifted, Abbott's words planted a seed of dialogue that continued to grow in the hall and online, leaving attendees and viewers grappling with the power of listening in a divided world as the crowd dispersed with phones glowing from shared videos and debates, turning the event into a lesson on how sincerity and respect can bridge gaps even amid political tension. Backstage, Crockett sat with her team, dismissing calls to chase viral moments and reaffirming her focus on justice and community work, while Abbott greeted attendees in the lobby, exchanging warm words about listening and unity as his speech spread widely online, drawing praise across the spectrum. Social media buzzed with comparisons between Crockett's fire and Abbott's calm. News outlets amplified the moment, and conversations continued in diners and private exchanges, acknowledging that while divisions remained, His message had softened the edges and created space for reflection. Crockett, meanwhile, was already on her way to a South Dallas community center where she met with teachers and parents. Her focus laser-sharp on reform. Standing before a small crowd, she spoke with quiet fire, saying, "I'm here for the voiceless, not the spotlight. We'll keep pushing for a system that works for everyone." A mother in the audience holding her child nodded deeply, whispering, "You're our champion, Jasmine." Her work, grounded in action, stood as a testament to her commitment, even if the day's narrative leaned toward Abbott. On the road, Governor Abbott remained consistent, approachable, sincere, and focused on listening. At a small town hall, he engaged voters on issues like jobs and education, emphasizing that politics isn't about winning every battle, but ensuring every voice is heard. His calm, unifying message resonated widely, with one commentator noting he turned a tense forum into a lesson in civility. While Crockett's determination never wavered, Abbott's tone offered a new model for dialogue. As the buzz faded, a deeper truth emerged. 1 minute of sincere listening can shift a room and perhaps a nation. This moment wasn't just about Abbott's charm or Crockett's grit, but about the transformative power of respectful exchange. The takeaway was clear: like Abbott, led with sincerity. Like Crockett, stay committed. In a divided world, listening remains the first step toward lasting progress.